Welcome to the New York Times. On today's episode is Josh Shapiro, a double agent for the Israeli government. Apparently, Kamala Harris' team asked him if he was a member of Mossad, and we're going to get to the bottom of that today. Zohran watch. It's Mamdani watch, baby. First couple of weeks in office, has he been good for the Jews, or has he turned New York into Kandahar? Eric Adams' cryptocurrency to fight antisemitism turned out to be a scheme? What? Plus, buffer zones around synagogues. Should protesters be let within 25 feet of congregation Beth Madoff on the Upper East Side? Also, a big old Jews of the Week in sports. Alex Bregman gets $175 billion to play baseball for the Cubs. Azeez Al-Shair got fined for stopping the genocide with a sticker on his face. And, of course, Deni Avidja. Is he an all-star? Is he not an all-star? We'll find out all those stories and more on today's episode of the New York Times. As always, I'm Walter Cronkite. Eitan Levine joined off camera. As always, I'd like to have a representative of the Goyish community, the non-Jewish community. Oh, to the side, we got TJ Tyson, who we keep off camera so that she can keep her job in case I say anything really crazy to the Jews. How's it going? How you doing?
Pretty good. I got a new job for anyone who is following the B-plot to my life.
That's the thing about this show, is that last time you were here, you did not have a job. Everyone at home was asking, is she employed yet?
Is she employable? And it turns out,
yes. Kind of, yes.
Yes.
How does it feel to have a job?
Great. I'm a warehouse manager.
Ooh, check that out. Any good art in there?
Sometimes.
Can you talk about the time you found a bunch of Nazi art? Is that applicable?
No.
Then
Signed an NDA about that.
The answer is nothing happened. But you're going to get back. You're employed. It's been a little bit. We took a little bit of a break from the podcast. I went to Israel.
Whoa.
Have you heard of it? It's in the news occasionally.
Okay.
While I was there, this is my souvenir that I brought back. Is the
Whoa! Beep, 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 beep.
it's the we captured Maduro in Hebrew newspaper. And Rich just walked in. Oh my God. Rich is in the background.
Welcome.
If you can find the mic and a cord, you can come on the episode, Rich. But anyways, this is the Israel we captured Maduro newspaper. But according to Yisrael Hayom, which is Miriam Adelson's newspaper, B'mitzat Laile Darmit Arhav Atzra et Rodon V'Notsala Maduro B'mita.
Very good.
Which I think means something about in the middle of the night, something they took Maduro from his bed. But there's a bunch of it I didn't fully understand in that, But that's what's been happening since.
Any puns that we're not picking up on here?
They said they gave him a new foreskin.
Oh my God.
You know what's crazy about that one? They use those guns that apparently fuck with your brain. Have you heard about that?
No.
You know the whole Havana syndrome thing where like a bunch of secret agents and lots of, I think it was like VP, Mike Pence's like chief of staff also got attacked, where there's something called Havana syndrome where they send like a radioactive or like some supersonic gun that makes your like head all discombobulated and stuff. Apparently, when they went in to get Maduro, they started blasting people with this like supersonic gun, and a bunch of them like passed out and have been sick over the next couple of, over the past couple of days. I'm not happy for that. Imagine, you know for a fact that America has a gun where it shoots it at you. You don't die, but like you get bad diarrhea for a week.
I think that's the gun that they use.
Yeah, security guards have been pooping ever since.
Did we just factually prove that Havana syndrome is real? Havana.
It's the opposite. You know what the issue is? It's the opposite of what Havana is known for. When I think of Havana, I used to think of fun nights, dancing on the beach, rum, letting the spirit of the island take me.
Now what?
Now I think about shitting myself because I'm the secretary to some defense minister that decided to take a vacation in a place where Russia controls.
We should call it the day after Havana syndrome.
You know what's funny? I saw you off camera come up with that 30 seconds ago and just nod your way through this, just being like, it's coming. There it is. There it is. Day after Havana syndrome. We're in a lull of Jewish news. There's a lack of Jewish news because There's no holidays that are happening. We're in a little bit of a lull. But I was in Israel. Shout out. Israel was a lot of fun. There were, there's two things that happened. It was a serious and it was a not serious thing that I was on. It was it was a 2-week fellowship at Bregman University, which is the only private college it's Israel's first private college or only private university in Israel. A bunch of Israeli Nepo babies is what it is. Do you know how much it costs even for the Nepo baby college? It was like $20K. That's it. Even their expensive colleges are like fairly affordable.
It's like the normal amount.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And they're like only the richest and hoitiest and most connected people come here. You wouldn't believe what they have to pay every year. $13,000. I know. Look at that. From the heavens that came. But yeah, I was there. The only kind of interesting thing that happened, shout out Reifman, learned a lot. Here's an interesting thing that I learned, because we had a class with this lady that does polling and polling averages and tries to figure out like how to do messaging.
I thought you meant vaulting.
She also is a vaulter. She works in messaging, and the way that she gets there, big stick over a river, just clips it. That's how everyone gets transported in Israel. A lot of people don't know that. Anyways, this lady, she works in messaging at Rathman University. And, she gave like our polling, to figure out like, oh, this is how much, this term polls, that term polls. And I would like to bring this up to the community, okay? The term Israel polls in the 40s, okay? A lot of people don't like Israel. I don't know if you know this.
The 1940s? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was very good. Well, do you know when Israel was founded? For my non-Jewish friend out there.
Was it the end of the 1940s?
1948. Look at that. You hang out enough with me, all of a sudden you know the history of Israel.
It's a joke.
No, it was very, very good. Israel polls in the 40s. Like when you ask people like across the board, I think it was like, regular sample size polls in the 40s. The term Zionist polls 13%.
Bad.
Stop using the term Zionist. It's weird. It sounds weird when you're talking about it. It doesn't get our point across. Everyone has a different definition of this fakakta word. And we act like it's like some like we're not giving it up. We're not going to make the smart decision and stop using this term that nobody likes to describe something. Here's the thing. I would even argue, listen, if people understood what the term meant and it was polling it was polling crappy, but they understood what it meant, then I would be like, yeah, keep on using it. But everyone has a different definition of the of the word. It means one thing to half the people. It means another thing to the other half of the people. So you should just stop using it. I think that we've ruined the ability to use it. And there are some groups out there that I've spoken to about this. And people, I'm not going to say, but there's an organization out there that their entire thing is restructuring and reframing Zionism in progressive spaces. And I'm like, that's stupid. Don't reframe it. You're not going to win this battle. They've decided, what it means. It also doesn't sound cool. It's not like a cool word. It sounds, anytime you say, like, I'm a Zionist, it sounds like you're saying, like, I'm a Marxist, even though they have nothing to do with each other. It's just an old word that gets said. Stop using the fucking word. Zionist, it's weird. You sound like you're from Lord of the Rings when you say you're a Zionist. But I told them, they're like, we're trying to restructure and reframe what the word is. We've lost the battle. Like, if you wanted to keep the word and you wanted to do a good job with using that word and making sure everyone knows what it means, then you should have defended it better. But unfortunately, you didn't defend it good enough. So now you got to deal with the consequences. The consequences are that you don't get to use the term anymore. If you don't like that, tough shit. Use it for the next term. Next term is going to be pro-Israel. That's the whole thing. They don't want to use pro-Israel. People don't want to use pro-Israel because they hear pro-Israel and they immediately think anti-Palestinian. And I'm like, that's fucking stupid. Okay? Instead, you should reframe that to make sure that people don't think anti-Palestinian when they hear pro-Israel. I think if it's not polling well, Jews need to get so much smarter about the messaging. We need to look at what people think and what they actually feel, because at the end of the day, Jews are very good at making it seem like we are hated by everybody and that Israel is hated by everybody. And as much as polling has slipped for Israel and for Jews in general, polling for Palestinians has also apparently been slipping over the past couple of months, years, because at the end of the past year, it surged, and then people have stopped caring. And they've stopped caring because this entire debate's annoying, because no one cares anymore about this war. So everyone, is like, who is the one that will annoy me the least? That's who I want to align with. The Jews have to stop being annoying. And I know that's a little bit of an oxymoron. As a people, we are not good at being not annoying. I get it. I've met us. The biggest issue with with Jewish messaging is that with Israel is that the Free Palestine, Free Gaza people have very good, quick words. They go, Free Palestine, no genocide. It's just 2 words. Whenever Jews hear that, our response to it is to over-explain. Everyone's like, why does no one really care what we're doing? And it's because one side is like, Free Palestine. And we're like, well, Free Palestine. Would I free the whole thing? Would I free only a little bit of it? You know, they're like, we hate Zionists. And we're like, well, the term Zionist, bleep, blah, blue. And it could mean one thing, and then it could mean another thing. Stop being annoying about Israel and being weird about Israel. Get rid of the term Zionist. Retire it. It's done. Kaput. We lost it. Go on to the next thing. New word, fresh slate. What do you think Zionist means, my Goyish counterpart over here?
I just think it's too biblical, you know?
Yes.
We're going right back to the Bible, and we can't all agree on that either. So I think maybe, how about a fresh take?
Yeah. Rebrand it. Market it.
Rebranding, and it's
Yeah.
marketing. I think, get a name that nobody can disagree with.
What about calling it diversity stand?
Ooh, well.
What about changing the name of Israel to I love to diversity a city, to Tel Aviv, tell every race is what I would call it.
Go tell it on the mountain.
Yeah. Sing from every mountain. Harimi al Pira Mivaseret Sion. That means call on high from the Harimi Mivaseret is a mountain in Israel. I'm saying, you know, we're so not cool. And we're so fucking stubborn that we look this data in the eye and we think, yeah, we're better than it. We can explain ourselves out of it. No one cares, you know?
Yeah. What do you think is a better name then for Zion? You gotta come up.
Pro-Israel. Just say pro-Israel.
No, it needs some more pizzazz.
You want some pizzazz? Then Zionist. It sounds like a cough. Anytime I hear as someone that is Zionist, because by the definition of the word, all I believe the word is that Zionist is that Israel is there and it exists and the Jews can live there if they want to live there. To me, that doesn't mean that they should be, you know, mean to everyone else in the place. But, you know, hey, who am I that the Jews have a piece of land that was determined a while ago? They defended the land to the point where now there's clear borders, kinda. And, you know, like, that's what Zionism is that it exists. The Jews are there. They get control land to some ability, whatever. When people hear the word Zionist, they think, oh, you mean that thing that kicks everyone else out of that country and lets King David rip the genitalia off of our enemies and shove it in the mouths of pigs and then slap the pigs and then make the pigs run all over the West Bank?
You guys did that?
No, but we could have.
Okay, the Black Mirror episode.
No, here's the thing. There's times in the Bible where, like, two of the tribes, the big tribes, they one of the sisters got raped. One of I think I'm getting this correct, but one of Jacob's daughters got raped. So 2 of the brothers went out there and they ripped they gave forced circumcisions out to everyone in that
Forced circumcision.
Forced.
Oh.
They like mutilated everyone's penises. Yeah, they did 4 of them. But like that's what it is when people think of Zionism. They think of weird holy wars. Yeah. That's not, no one wants to deal with a weird holy war. People think of Zionism and think of jihad. It's a pretty, like, whether that's accurate or not, that's what it kind of is.
I definitely am going to think of the pigs thing.
Whether that was implied or not, you know. Anyways, that's my hot take. Get rid of Zionism. Anyways, I was there. Here's another funny thing that happened. And I will say, very sad part, but there is a silly ending to this, is that I want to thank the people that ran the program, because I got to go to the kibbutz Kfar Aza, which is October 7th, right by the border. And it hit, you know, right. It's on the border. It was the kibbutz that got hit. And then also we went to Netiv Hasara, which is the place where the paragliders had glided in, and they massacred people in that area. We also went to the Nova site. The Nova site is obviously where the music festival happened and where all of the memorials are there. I will say, If you have a chance, you should go. I think that everyone does need to see it. I left there, the kibbutz. The kibbutz was like, it was insanely tough. It was the most emotionally depleting place that I had ever been. It feels like the buildings are still there and alive, and like, uh, it feels like October 8th there. Like, it feels like everything's burned out. They've done a decent job preserving. You're walking into the rooms where people had died in the rooms. The lady who had given us the tour, she knew somebody who she was like, I found his body over here and his head, in a forest over there. It is as bad as you can imagine. The Nova site, also terrible. That meant, I think it's either 278 or 378 bodies, that had died there, and it's plaque on top of plaque on top of plaque on top of plaque. It's a lot. I will say also, I did get recognized there, which I thought was a real big up and down. Is that I'm reading one of the plaques and someone walked over to me. I have some level of, people know my face in Israel. I'm reading one of the literally at one of the lowest places I had ever been, because I just came from the kibbutz seeing that. And then I'm in Nova just seeing an overwhelming sea of plaques. And then someone literally comes over to me in the middle. I'd already cried that morning. I was only not crying now because I was a little bit depleted from whatever. This guy comes over to me and just goes, by the way, I recognize you. Like, like as I'm reading one of the plaques, and I'm just like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah. And then just walks away. So that was a weird moment to experience that. We then went to Nativ HaSara. Nativ HaSara, like I said, the paragliders came in there. Two people, these places, there's this concept there, because we met the guy who's in charge of the emergency response team, and he says that the concept there is that your family is not bigger than the community, as much as like, he had to leave his family and go out there and protect his moshav, his moshav that he was on. Some of his friends, two of the people that were part of the defense of the moshav got shot because they were running to help someone else's mother who was inside of a bomb shelter. And unfortunately, that paraglider then walked into the bomb shelter and killed, the woman that they were trying to save. I say this all because, we're on the Gaza border, and I'm listening to the guy who's in charge of the emergency response team for Nativ HaSara. And, he's tough as nails Israeli guy. Was literally in charge of like clearing out hostages and making sure that like his moshav, clearing out terrorists and making sure that his moshav was taken care of. And he's telling us about like how he had never cried. He wasn't a big crier, and two of his son's best friends had died. Two of his best friends had died. He had to go and bury his friends. Getting into those moshavs after, not a lot of people were there, and he had to, literally be the one that was digging the grave and digging his friends. And, he said that it's very difficult to be someone that isn't crying, and, all of a sudden he's burying his friends and he's sobbing at this. And what is not lost on me is that right there is the border wall to Gaza. And while he's telling us about his friends who had cried, who had died and how he had buried them, and this was emotional for him, we're hearing gunshots and we're hearing explosions right over the border wall. And the only thing I really got from that moment, I mean, I got a lot from that moment. I got a lot from that moment. Trust me. This is all I've been thinking about since then. But the big kind of takeaway that I want to give before we go into like the rest of our stories today is that I think that over the past couple of years, there has been a significant effort on both sides to minimize the trauma that each side had been dealt. October 7th, the Jews and Israelis in that area dealt the largest loss of life in a single day since the Holocaust, as bad as you imagine. Those row houses are so close to each other. It was like shooting fish in a barrel, like literally. On the other side, you have a group of people that are stuck in Gaza, cannot get out of Gaza, in the middle of a conflict and a war that they did not deserve to be part of. And this is not saying that Hamas, and it's not saying that there's bad actors there, but I think that the biggest thing that people need to take away from trips like this is when you go to these places, acknowledge that both sides have been dealt something. Hearing the gunshots and the bombs going off on one side, where I got this other guy talking about how he buried his best friends on the other side. That's the experience over there, is that there's two groups of people living a very real thing. And any effort that comes out to try to diminish, oh, the rapes didn't happen, oh, hostages didn't get taken, oh, there's no innocents in Gaza, the kids in Gaza, there is no kids in Gaza, there's only, future Hamas people in Gaza. That's just the wrong way to go about it. Anyways, that was kind of my big thought from the Israel trip, but I can't wait to go back. I'm going in February. I'll be back in February. Did a nice show when I was out there. Shout out to the show in Tel Aviv that I was out and I did, and I will say, pretty good food this time also. Had really good food out there. Really ate a lot of shawarma. Too much shawarma when I was out there. What do you got to come to Israel sometime.
I would love to. I was going to say, good food this time. What happened last time?
Last time was good food. Last time was really good food. Yeah. Last time I got a food crawl. I got a food tour also. It was really effing good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you, if going to Israel, what are you excited for as a non-Jewish person?
Well, I mean, after that introduction, I think the food.
Yeah.
I would say, obviously, the beach. I'm a big beach person. I'm
a beach. Everyone's hot out there. Israel needs to.
I think the nightlife.
Israel needs to stop talking about the worst thing that ever happened. This is the issue: is that Israel's going to go through a phase 2 right now of like getting back into society. The war. Still, obviously, things are still going on and complex in Gaza, but all of their messaging needs to stop talking about that. If I'm Israel, I don't really talk about it that much anymore. Instead, I bring up how everyone in Tel Aviv is hot. You're not going to do the Hasbara of talking about this war is not as good as the Hasbara of setting up a live cam of the boardwalk and just looking at model after model after model. That thing is hot as hell. The thing about Israeli baseball is the Israeli baseball team is starting to announce their roster. In order to be on Team Israel baseball, you have to be either one of two things. Either one of your grandparents has to be Jewish, or you have to be married to a Jew. You don't even have to be a Jew. You have to be married to a Jew. I tell the Israeli baseball team, what we got to do is we got to send a bus full of models to Venezuela. Start recruiting, okay? We got to build up our roster. I want Gal Gadot on a bus with her best friends to the Dominican Republic. We got to make those rosters look like Liebenthal, Rodriguez, Hershkowitz, Garcia Parra. That's how we win baseball. Hot model first. Anyways, are you ready for the New York Times? We're going to do our news stories now. Wow! Are you ready for the New York Times? Here we go. Story number 1. Josh Shapiro writes that Harris's team asked if he had ever been an Israeli agent during the vetting process for the vice presidency. Here we go. According to New York Times, in Mr. Shapiro's... 1 second. Let me burp.
Good job.
There we go. In Mr. Shapiro's book, Where We Keep the Light, the governor is measured in describing his interactions with Miss Harris herself. But Mr. Shapiro, who is Jewish, shocker, Josh Shapiro, Jewish, details a contentious vetting process in which Mrs. Harris's team focused intensely on his views on Israel, so much that at one point he wrote he was asked if he was ever an agent of the Israeli government. Quote, "Had I been a double agent for Israel," wrote Shapiro, describing the incredulous response to a last-minute question in the vetting team. He then wrote he was told, "Well, we have to ask," quote, "Have you ever communicated with an undercover agent in Israel?" The questioner asked, as if they were, according to Mr. Shapiro, who recounted, "If they were undercover," I responded, "How the hell would I know?" That's a very Jewish response to this. That's the most Jewish response. Have I ever interacted with an agent? What did you say, by the way? The more you learn about Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, the more you're like, this effing idiot had a campaign that was run by absolute TikTok morons. That's the only way. They asked him this because if you remember they showed all of her staff and all of her TikTok and all of her marketing effort. It was a bunch of kids and stuff. That's who put this together because they're getting their information from TikTok. So of course they're like, oh, we got Josh Shapiro Witzenberg Instein coming to interview for vice president. Ask him if he's in Mossad.
He's an agent of Mossad.
He's an agent of Mossad. We got Josh Shapiro here. You ask that IDF Netanyahu. Ask him if he's Bibi Netanyahu in a plastic face mask.
Now, I like this movie, personally. Yeah. I like it.
I like how they probably put the light in it. They're like, have you ever smoked salmon before? Josh Shapiro, have you ever complained about the temperature in a restaurant before sitting down? Josh Shapiro, answer the questions here. What did your family think of What did your family think of Funny Girl on Broadway? Did they think that Beanie Feldstein did she do a good job being a Funny Girl on Broadway? Josh Shapiro, you Zionist pig.
Trick question. They hated it.
They hated it. Josh Shapiro.
I just think if you don't ask your Jewish friends if they're agents of Mossad, how do you know? You know?
Everyone has to. If you haven't, this is actually a good lesson out there.
Yeah.
If you have a Jewish friend, ask them.
Yeah.
The answer may surprise you, and to be honest, if they're anxious, maybe because they haven't had anyone to unburden this load. A lot of people think that Jews are anxious because of intergenerational trauma and just some of the things that we have gone through as a people. No, we're anxious because we're all secretly Mossad.
Right?
That's why Jews are anxious.
I also think it's a bit flattering, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe I'm totally misreading this whole situation.
But
I'm a Canadian. And if somebody asked me if I was a double agent for CSIS,
yeah.
I think I'd be flattered that they thought so highly of me.
I'd be like, you know what? Thank you for asking.
Maybe it could be. I don't know.
He's like, you think I'm smooth and suave?
Academy, whatever.
It's also funny because Israeli agents, I can imagine, are just like British during the day, and then they get to their room and they're super Israeli. So it's like outside, they're just like, well, listen, far be it from me to impose any sanctions on, but I think, if you want to view this weapons procurement as sustainable for the country, then far be it. And then they get into like, kapara. I like how you went Israeli accent, and you're like, that is the Israeli accent. And you have is just Brooklyn Banani.
I've never been to Israel.
They're in front of the door. They're just like secretly British. And it's so fun. They get outside, they're just like, my liege, make sure that you'll have a bottle of Cavassier and a copy of the British Times at your desk when you get back. Closes the door. I give out my pifich. My thrap in the Labago, I'm gonna schwitz my vergachte penis off. My foreskin feels like sew it back on so that I can do this job better.
Was that true on the nose or what?
On the nose? Wow. The nose? Why that part of the body? Why not other parts of the body? She spent $1.5 billion on this campaign, on the marketing, and then hired Tim Walz. You think she asked Tim Walz if he was a Somalian agent at all? That's what she should. Instead of asking Josh Shapiro if he's a member of Mossad because he has a Passover Seder every year, they should have asked Tim Walz if he's secretly funneling millions of dollars over to Somalia every year because he's too afraid to ask Ilhan Omar anything potentially problematic.
I literally think that's more likely. Remember how at one point, I can't even remember what administration, but they're like, yeah, millions of dollars in financial aid are going over to like.
And then Tim Walz is like, oh boy, I bet you don't know I sure do. Oh God, hey. Oh, should I ask the Somalians if they're doing medical fraud, hey? Josh Shapiro was a totally fine candidate. Let's get this fucking idiot out there. Josh Shapiro doesn't get it because his team is like, I don't know. I think he's secretly Bibi Netanyahu in a plastic mask. Meanwhile, they asked Tim Walz. He was like, oh boy, I want to ask Ilhan Omar if she's committing medical fraud, but I don't know how to talk to the Somalians, to be honest. They're too pushy, the Somalians. Tim Walz, I remember when they shoved him on us, they were like, oh, the men are going to love him. The whole thing, he got put as the vice president because they were like, oh, Kamala is too much for just women and POC men. There's nothing there for the white dudes. We got to give them a white dude person. And the guy they threw was Tim Walz. And they're like, oh, they're going to love him. He knows all about mechanics. He knows everything about setting up plumbing, and he knows how to change a tire, and he knows how to change the gutters. He's going to remind everyone of their dad. That's why people are going to vote for him, because he reminds everyone of their dad. Meanwhile, any straight dude on that team could have told you that most dudes hate their dads. I could have told you that was going to go bad. You don't give someone that reminds everyone of their dads as the vice president. You give someone that's kind of cool and kind of swap. Now, should it have been Josh Shapiro or not? That's a whole other question. But the vetting process, the fact that they were like, we can't have Josh Shapiro because he's a member of Mossad, and then picked up Tim Waltz is absolutely insane. Here we go. Here we go. Mr. Shapiro, an outspoken critic of what he saw as anti-Semitism on campus amid the Israel-Hamas war, wrote that he faced skepticism of that record during vetting. When Mrs. Harris asked if he, quote, would be willing to apologize for statements I had made, particularly over what I saw happening at the University of Pennsylvania, he replied that he would not. He wrote, quote, I believe in free speech. I'll defend it with all I got. Most of the speech on campus, even that which I disagreed with, was peaceful and constitutionally protected, but some wasn't peaceful. That's so he wouldn't go back on saying, hey, protesters, stop stalking the Jewish kids. Here's the thing is that, like, overwhelmingly, the protests were totally fine. There's a bunch of people, though, that really did cross the line. And that's who he wouldn't talk down to, you know. The kids that were stalking the Hillel people is who he wouldn't want to, you know. Anyways, the whole thing also is that he did at one point volunteer on a kibbutz as part of, like, Israeli service in college. And then he mentioned that he was like, oh, you know, like it was an Israel volunteering program or something, which is what probably prompted them to be like, hey, are you a member of Mossad? The thing is, that would mean that everyone that's ever done Birthright is a member of Mossad. That's not smooth people. The people that do Birthright, not a bunch of super agents. I'll tell you that much. A bunch of whiny, it's a bunch of whiny, like, podiatrists. Not secret agents. That's not who does Mossad. Your orthopedic surgeon does Birthright. Not, you know, not a, what's his face? Don't mess with the Zohran. Don't mess with the Zohar. Don't mess with the Zohar? No, what was the name of the movie with Adam Sandler?
What about the...
Don't mess with the Zohan.
The Love Guru? Is that what you're thinking of?
No. Don't mess with the Zohan.
I've seen it.
You never seen it? He plays an Israeli super agent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is another weird part of the vetting process that I learned.
Yes.
Quote, she said that she knew we didn't have a lot of money and that Lori, his wife, was going to have to get all new clothes and pay for people to do her hair and makeup, he wrote, saying that while he held no grudge against the person that had been interviewing, those comments left him a little slack-jawed. Apparently you have to be kind of rich to be the vice president, is what that sentence was.
What?
So Kamala Harris was like, listen, you poor Zionist. Are you sure you got what it takes to be it? Your wife is going to need an updo every once in a while.
Gonna have to give her a full makeover.
Listen, I've seen your wife's what she dressed.
We're gonna get you a new wife. That's for sure.
New wife loading, okay? Listen, your wife dresses like shit, and you hate Palestinians. I don't know if this is gonna work out. What's kind of the vibe of the vice presidential vetting process? He's just like it seems also in this review of this book, he's also trying to sell a book, so that's part of it. Seems like part of this is that he went into this being like, all right, this may be weird, and then they were just like, oh, you think it was gonna be weird? I'll show you. Your wife is ugly, needs a whole fucking makeup redo, and on top of that, most of my staff thinks that you unfortunately are a double agent for Israel. So square those two things away, please. Meanwhile, we're going to spend $900 million on the Sphere for a week. We're going to do that. We're going to hire Beyonce, even though we didn't win. And we're not going to hire. Isn't this campaign stupid?
I don't know which is worse, him being a double agent for Mossad, or that just implied that his wife is ugly.
Yeah.
So mean.
Like, such a weird process through this.
I guess it's to see if you insult the wife, if he's gonna like Will Smith down.
Yeah.
Talk about
And hit.
wife that way.
Yeah. Maybe that was part of the process, just getting his blood boiling to see if he would get like angry.
Actually,
I mean, I bet Tim Waltz like didn't. I've got to know what they asked everyone else. J.B. Pritzker, I think, is Jewish.
They definitely asked Tim Walz this music. I know.
He's
We
like,
don't dress up much around
yeah,
here.
oh, I haven't. I spent $30 at a Chili's about a week ago, and I still feel weird about it.
Most of my clothes are from Costco.
Yeah. You think they were like, listen, I don't think that shopping at Dress for Less is going to cut it if your wife is the vice president's wife. All right, here we go. Story number 2. Eric Adams' anti-Semitism coin turned out to be a scam. Let me just start off with this. Eric Adams released a cryptocurrency called NYC token, and it was to, quote, address anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism. It ended up being a rug pull scam, and bluntly, if you fell for this,
What?
you don't deserve to have money, okay? If you saw the words Eric Adams, cryptocurrency, and fighting anti-Semitism on a sales pitch and thought, I'm going to put my money into that, you do not deserve to have money. I wish I could have bet against this thing. I could have. I should have put money into this and then dropped it the second that it launched, because this had rug pull written all over it.
Can you short it? Is that a thing?
The short is to buy it immediately and then drop it the second it comes up. It goes up. According to Monday, Eric Adams' coin had briefly surged in value, which, by the way, it was $NYC. That's the name of as if it wasn't scammy enough. Who looked at this and was like, this is a long-term asset?
For starters, me. I bought 55 coins.
Yeah. How much to lose?
But I just love Eric Adams, and I would endorse anything that he does. So.
This is so. Actually, what's kind of funny? I wonder if he knew this was a scam. Either he knew this was a scam or comically did not know this was a scam. I was like, what do you mean? I was trying to fight anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I think it's just like everybody's making money off crypto these days.
Yes. Everyone's making money off 2 things these days: cryptocurrency and fighting anti-Semitism. Time to merge the 2. This is a sure bet. Fighting anti-Semitism and cryptocurrency? I bet there's some Jew involved. There's got to be some Jewish guy holding the bet. I'm saying this not as a point of like conspiracy. I promise you there's some Jew involved. Wait,
yeah,
let me read.
There's no one Jewish involved is absurd.
Okay, let me read. Okay, Eric Adams' coin had briefly surged in value before an account linked to its issuer pulled a ton of money out of $NYC, taking the value's asset for a quick profit and fueling widespread outrage and accusation that Adams was ripping people off. Now, a former Adams crypto advisor and Catholic knight has entered the drama, claiming that Adams stole the idea for NYC coin in the first place. Less than an hour after NYC coin trading launched, Adams was fighting allegations that he had engaged in a rug pull, a time-tested and difficult scam to prosecute in cryptocurrency. A rug pull happens when someone with a public platform creates a coin and promotes it to increase a perceived value. Then, when it seems to be at its highest value, the coin creator pulls their own liquidity, tanking the price and leaving everyone in the lurch. With Adams, which, by the way, I thought that's what happens. I thought the assumption is that you're kind of just feeding into someone's rug pull. When a celebrity does a rug pull, I assume that it's just like, yeah, I'll give Logan Paul like $50.
Yeah, what did you think? You're going to make money on this?
Like, does anyone actually think they're making money on it? If you think you're making money on this, boy, howdy. Do I have a fighting anti-Semitism coin to sell you? Invest in my coin, Jew coin, J coin. If you think Eric Adams' coin is fighting anti-Semitism, wait till you see my coin. Anti-Semitism is done by February. That's what I guarantee with eCoin. Sign it. All right. Adams' coin, the market cap rose to as high as $600 million on Monday afternoon before an account linked to the issuer took around $2.5 million worth of liquidity out. According to analytics from Bubble Maps, who is the MSNBC of the internet, I assume, around 200 traders lost $1,000 each in the alleged rug pull. Unlucky 15 accounts lost over $100,000.
No.
If you lost $100,000 in this account, in this pool, that's on you. I don't know what to tell you. You do not get recourse on this. You have to actually go to court and explain why you don't get to be locked up. $100,000 in Eric Adams' anti-Semitism cryptocurrency scam? Are you under Iraq? Are you under Iraq? Like Iraq? That's what I want to know.
Maybe.
A bunch of Iraqi Jews.
Turned off the internet there for a while.
As of now, the big clue in the LLC paperwork for the token, which is filled by Yosef Zavelli.
We found.
We found him. It's not anti-Semitism. I just know my community here. Yeah, of course there's a Yosef Zavelli. Of course there's a Yosef Zavelli attached to this. No offense out there. Good job, this guy. I'm happy. This guy's great. This guy's the only Jew that got to get in on the Eric Adams anti-Semitism cryptocurrency rug pull. That's a brag. How did no one else get there first? I'm actually a little bit ashamed of myself. How did I not think to go to Eric Adams with an anti-Semitism cryptocurrency scam? It was right there. It was right there for the taking.
Because I feel like he did this kind of like going away tour after he dropped out of the race and was still just like shaking hands and kissing babies. And I guarantee you, everybody who got like a one-on-one audience with Eric Adams was like, so what scams do you want to pull after you're out of office?
Listen, you did a good job with the turkey.
Yeah.
How about this?
We know it's his favorite thing.
I'm going to tiptoe around this next couple of sentences so much. I just want to say there's a concept called Chil Hashem, which means Kiddush Hashem is when you do something to exalt Hashem. It's good for the Jews.
Okay.
The Jews did it, you're like, great. This is a Chil Hashem that's Kiddush Hashem. Chil Hashem, bad for the Jews.
Okay.
Let me just say, you cannot be named Yosef Zavelli and be involved in this. You got to change your name to something goyish. It should be Joseph, Zebulon or whatever to get it right. Joseph Zavelli, the businessman who filed the paperwork for the LLC behind $NYC Zavelli, guess his job before this.
Stockbroker.
Landlord and developer accused of leasing student housing inundated with mold and sewage. No shit. Okay, I don't know what you want from me here.
Oh, no.
Our people have to be better. Yosef Zavelli, in past lawsuits, Zavelli hired Frank Carone, the Brooklyn power broker who served as Adams' chief of staff. This is just a Mad Libs of corrupt. This is a Mad Libs of corrupt New York demographics. You got Yosef Zavelli and Frank Carone getting together with Eric Adams to create a fighting anti-Semitism cryptocurrency. This is the most Jewish, Italian, New York scam. I guarantee you the $100,000 people were people that they individually scammed in their own networks.
Oh, yeah.
There was a whole plot line of Sopranos about selling stocks and stuff. This is exactly that. ABC News also reports that Carone was involved in the launch. Carone and Zavelli did not respond to the request. Words to the wise out there. I'll sum it up like this. Eric Adams, crypto, I am pro this. I am so for this scam. One Jew had to figure this out, and Yosef Zavelli, unfortunately, was the one to figure this out. Getting Eric Adams involved in a fighting anti-Semitism cryptocurrency scam with some Italian guy named Frank Carone, a power broker who worked for, that's it. You lucked out. This is not, I will say I've gone from thinking that this was a Chil Hashem, this is a Kiddush Hashem out there, and he's the one that figured it out. Good job. I'm jealous that I did not get involved in Eric Adams' cryptocurrency to fight anti-Semitism scandal before he did.
But somebody had to.
Someone had to.
Somebody had to. Huge Kiddush Hashem.
Huge Kiddush Hashem out there. And here we go. It's everyone's favorite time of the New York Times Mamdani Watch, baby. Mamdani Watch. We're going to do this every time I have an episode of the New York Times. And the reason why is because the ADL has their Mamdani monitor out there that basically was, if you want to talk about people who clearly didn't do any polling before making a decision to do something, the ADL made their Mamdani monitor. The Mamdani monitor just goes out there and gives a very one-sided view of what Zohran Mamdani is doing. They're trying to figure out all the different appointments. I will say that I give Zohran Mamdani, so every week we're going to go into, is Mamdani a very level-headed Jewish look at the things that Mamdani is doing well, things Mamdani is doing not well. Here we go. Okay. A couple things. One, Mamdani himself has been doing just okay, just fine. A couple days after he got into office, there was the rally that happened outside of the synagogue where people were chanting that they want Hamas. He came out there and he called out the Hamas protesters and said that this is not a place to be having anti-terrorism chants. Now, I will say, to his credit, I thought that the statement was pretty good. And on top of that, he took some shit for it. He took some shit. A lot of his constituents were pissed off because what was happening inside of the synagogue, and I never actually got an answer on this, if this is accurate or not, but it was an Israeli real estate thing. Now, some of those real estate events do have developments that are in the West Bank. The West Bank, obviously, a very complicated place. So he took some shit because people were saying, like, oh, you're defending a synagogue that is having a real estate deal in it. If it's a West Bank real estate that is being sold in there, it is their belief that violates international law. TBD is what I would say. It's a little bit more complicated by that, but he knew that by coming out there and condemning the protesters, he would get a negative response from his side, and he did the right thing. I think that he made the right thing. And the big thing here is that even if the synagogue is having these real estate deals that violate international law, if they are out there and they are like egregious settlements that are being popped up, I don't think they should happen in synagogues, to be completely honest. I think that you do kind of magnetize people to come there and protest. That being said, even if they're holding real estate deals that are questionable in the synagogue, that doesn't mean that everyone in the synagogue should be massacred. That just is not how it works. You do not get to go to that synagogue and say, I hope that synagogues that do this get massacred. And before you say, well, they're going to get massacred or not, this past year we have dealt with synagogues being burnt down. People shot at synagogues. People assaulted at protests. Not even at protests, at hostage rallies. People lit on fire at hostage rallies. People shot outside of Jewish museums. This has happened. You do not get to go back and say, come on, let us be weird outside of synagogues if that weirdness has led to violence. And we're going to have a whole other conversation here in this podcast about the buffer zone that may be created in front of synagogues. But that's the whole thing. Zohran, as a person, I think he's done a just okay job. Not much has happened. He just got into office, so I'll give him a classic B+ as a just on how he has responded to the Jewish community as a person. That being said, I'll give him the B. There are two things that I do think, he also got rid of one of his staffers that had a bunch of anti-Semitic tweets from the back in her history. Thought that was a good move. I actually thought it was a little bit too reactionary, but after hearing a little bit more about it and hearing that the people inside his campaign, were okay with the firing a little bit more, made me think, okay, I trust him if they're going above and beyond, go above and beyond. I'm always worried about the Jews being blamed too much for this stuff. But if that resignation made sense, then I'm all for it. His housing development person that he hired, that Sia Weaver person, is a fucking moron. That lady who was like, oh, we want to slowly take away the property from the whites, and the lady Sia Weaver, C.A. Weaver, she's the affordable housing person that got brought in. She's talked about having to, wanting to slowly take away, land, make all land publicly, whatever. Take the ultimate extremist socialist response to land development. And then she was asked about it. First of all, her parents live in a $1 million house, they live in it. She lives in an area also, if you want to talk about, she lives in a very Hasidic area that, I question whether she should be in that area if you want to talk about demographics, moving into certain areas. But I will say that when she was asked about it, she started crying and then ran inside, and then her partner came out. No crying. You don't get to cry. No. This is your job. You said what you had to say.
Yeah.
Now, the whole thing, she's come on and said, I don't mean it or whatever. What I said back then doesn't apply now. Good. You don't get to cry. No.
No. I cry at work all the time. Super unprofessional.
and I just got a new job. You don't get to cry. But here's the other thing I will say with that. I will say his appointments, not great. Day one, he got rid of the IHRA standard for defining anti-Semitism. He did this as part of a larger sweep of getting rid of all the executive orders that Eric Adams did in the days before. A lot of people thought that this was, more handicapping how to deal with anti-Semitism. Realistically, this was just part of a larger sweep of orders that he was getting rid of.
Feels like this has more to do with Eric Adams.
It has more to do with Eric Adams. That being said,
God bless.
That being said, I recognize the optics. Day one, you're coming in there and getting rid of the anti-Semitism definition. fucking come on. Like,
we have a new one ready to go.
The thing is, they have to now vote, and it's a question of who's going to be in charge of the combating anti-Semitism universe and all that stuff. But that's what I'll say is that I wouldn't, day one, just optically, I would have gone about it. Nothing else has really happened since
day
then.
two, save every day.
Day two. So I'll give him the B, and somewhere between B plus is where he is. I'm not going to give him a B plus, but so far, I think he's done like a decent job. I also think that my hot take on all of this is that, hey, everyone, get ready for moderate Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Moderate Dani is what's going to happen, because Zohran is now running into this thing where a lot of the stuff he believed, a lot of the things that he gets to say when he's in the DSA halls and when he's in the DSA meetings, a lot of that more extreme rhetoric doesn't work when you're the mayor. Like, he can't have, back in the day when he's, those DSA meetings that are in like town halls or like in like areas where the DSA decides to vote on, terms like Zionist or, like socialism or all that stuff. Those conversations don't exist in the mayorship, really, in a way that he is used, and not in the way that he's had to deal with before. Zohran Mamdani is now dealing with the fact that a lot of the people that he deals with are Zionists, are people that have a connection to Israel, are people that like Israel. What I need to see from him, and so that's what's kind of moderated out. There's issues with like some of the buildings that he wanted to turn into housing have been sold off. And, there's just things that he's kind of running into that's making him take more moderate responses. That, we don't want Hamas here chant, that he called out. I don't know if that would have been called out in the DSA halls. I just don't think it would be called out, because I think that they don't have to deal with anyone that has a connection to Israel in a way that he has a connection to Israel. So I think that he's going to keep on taking moderate stances like this over his tenure. And I think everyone has to be prepared for that to be kind of the status quo with him. Here's a fun Jewish story with Zohran Mamdani, is that there's a very famous mezuzah that is on Gracie Mansion, and the mezuzah is still up there. Mamdani moved in. He was photographed passing the main entrance mezuzah that was installed by New York's first Jewish mayor, Abraham Beam, after his election in 1973. The addition represented a historic moment of representation for the Jewish New Yorkers. Thought it was kind of cool, always seeing as the new mayors come in, when they're photographed walking past the mezuzah. The mezuzah, do you know what a mezuzah is, by the way?
Of course I know what a mezuzah is. Kiss it!
You're supposed to be kissing it. She knows. Listen, if you're friend with Eitan enough, you know what a mezuzah does and everything. The mezuzahs, for those of you who don't know, they're little boxes that Jews put on our doorways. Inside of it is a bit of Torah. The Shema is in there. And as you walk in and out, you kiss it. Now, an interesting Levine family piece of lore is that one of the phrases that Jews have when it comes to mezuzahs is, if there's ever any like bad stuff happening, or if there's ever any like, you have bad luck or whatever, you got to check your mezuzah and you look inside the Torah scroll and see if there's any little chipped words or anything like that. So the phrase is, oh, things are going bad, you got to check your mezuzah. So it's according to my mom. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is Levine family lore. Mm-hmm. And if you know Jewish moms, I'll give you a 60% chance this happened, okay? Everyone knows out there, I had cancer when I was a kid. I'm fine, obviously. But story goes is that my mom checked the mezuzah after I got diagnosed and found a bunch of chipped letters.
What do you mean chipped letters?
Because in the letter, because this isn't like with a pen and paper. This is, the Torah needs to be written manually by hand with a guy with a quill and special ink. So those Torah the Torah and the paper isn't just regular paper. It's like leather paper. It's called, the cloth is what it's called. So, it's like a legitimate thing. Yeah. So you take the ink and you have the feather and stuff, and you do the whole, thing. So the lettering is more prone to cracking because it's like hand on, and if any of the words are cracked, if any of the letters are cracked, if any of the ink is cracked, if there's any like separation in the words or whatever, that's like, oh, you have to replace it. You have to fix the lettering and stuff. That's where you get the bad luck. So my mom says that she apparently got the mezuzahs checked after I got diagnosed with cancer. She was like, there's cracks everywhere.
There's cracks everywhere.
There's cracks everywhere.
They're in his bones. He's
fine.
He's fine.
There's cracks all over his bones.
That's great. I was going to ask, how do you know if you need to switch out the Torah scroll?
Every once in a while, you take a look at it. Or you wait till your kid gets cancer, and then you go,
uh-oh.
Nobody said I got the mezuzahs up here. I got a pickle mezuzah up in my dorm. Anyways, this is a little bit. I'll do one more smaller story just because I want to talk about this, and then we'll do a longer story about the buffer zone. But I want to give a quick shout out there to Cameron Kasky, the student activist, the Gen Z Israel critic who was running for Jerry Nadler's seat in New York, has dropped out. And I want to point out the absurdity of what this run was. Cameron Kasky announces that he is running in the same district as Josh Schlossberg, as Alexa Dunn, who is out there. But, you know, there's Jerry Nadler's leaving. Everyone's running for that seat. It's a very coveted seat. So there's a lot of people are running in there, are running for that position. Cameron Kasky was one of the people. Now, Cameron Kasky, that's a very heavily Jewish area. Cam Kasky did the brilliant thing of running for this seat under the anti-Israel moniker. His whole thing was that he was anti-Israel. Now, keep in mind, his position doesn't really have much to do with Israel. Also, it's a lot of Jews in the district. Work with the wise. If you're running for Jerry Nadler's heavily Jewish seat and you don't like Israel, don't bring it up. But the whole thing is that he did it, and then he immediately went on a trip to the West Bank, and he shot a bunch of weird content in the West Bank, came back, and then dropped out. So this fucking scheme was so obvious. He clearly went out to the way he announced that he was running. Then, as part of his running, go out there, be like, "Hey guys, you got picture with a bunch of Palestinian kids. You got picture taking." Now, not to say that the West Bank isn't remarkably fucked up, like fucked up to no end. It is a blemish on Israel's existence. What is happening in the West Bank? It is a long-term problem that the longer that you leave it out there, the longer that Israel does not handle this in any specific way, the longer that Israel will be dealing with security issues. It just is what it is. The West Bank being chaotic is not good for Israel. It's not good for the Jews. It's not good for, definitely not good for the Palestinians. It is very good for Cameron Kasky's career, though. Cam Kasky is thrilled about this issue.
That's what I was going to ask is, what does this person actually do? Because I have, A, never heard them before, and B, this whole scenario sounds like a lot more like a shit posting situation than it does like an actual political run. So,
well, he did that whole thing where he was, I mean, let me actually get his thing. Cam Kasky became famous because he was he was there when the Parkland shooting happened. So he was one of those student activists.
Okay.
He was one of the student activists that, afterwards decided to do politics. And, and I get it doing Everytown, which is like about gun control, all that stuff. But like, campaign launch.
This is very much giving like a YouTuber who just figured out that running for some kind of political seat is going to give them like
100%.
A follow-up boost.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
Workers are always on the move, reaching new heights and rushing towards the future. But today's leaders just can't give up. My name is Cameron Kasky, and I'm running for Congress because there's no real path forward for most Americans. You and your family are working all week just to spend most of your paycheck.
First of all, everyone thinks they're fucking Zohran Mamdani now.
Yeah.
We are the next group. It's already happened. We're about 4 months into the next like wave of what political ads are. Everyone is going to be I'm walking. I have nice font. I'm trying to be, and what the issue now, but here's the problem though, that is going to happen from this. Is that
know how to use social media.
No, but here's the problem is that the people that are going to start to get elected, the people that are not the people that are politicians. These people that understand social media more. Yeah. So we're about to get a Congress, mayor, everyone's going to be a fucking TikTok star that's in charge of this. A TikTok star who thinks that they are changing the world. Ugh.
We have a TikTok star president. It's fine.
Senator Rubio, can you tell me right now that you will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future? Able to legally purchase an assault rifle and murder 17 people.
See, this stuff I'm into.
My classmates and I learned the hard way that this shooting didn't happen in spite of the American system. It happened because of it. And this is a system that is failing you at every turn. But out of that tragedy, my classmate
against guns.
Who's against guns? He's a big gun person.
Pro-gun or anti?
He's anti-gun. He ran for anti-gun, but he didn't run on anti-gun. He really ran on like this Israel stuff that was weird. Anyways, this was just a very, very clear gimmick. And we're going to see Cam Kasky like more and more doing stuff like this. But I just want to say that I'm just calling out like a very clear gimmick using the West Bank as a way to launch your political career as a white kid from Florida, brave. I would say very brave. Anyways, moving right along. Now, this is an interesting conversation, or an interesting topic that is popping up. Right now, the big conversation after a lot of these protests have happened outside of synagogues is the buffer zone. Should a buffer zone be put around synagogues that would prevent protesters from sitting out synagogues? Now, Kathy Hochul proposed this, a 25-foot buffer zone. I've seen people saying that it should be 100 feet, which I think is like somewhere in there is where the sweet spot would be. But this is a vote. In 2026, we'll take steps to protect our houses of worship against the rising tide of antisemitism and Islamophobia. Which, by the way, yes, do this in front of every mosque. Do this in front of the churches that are applicable.
All of them.
Do this in front of the. You should not be able to protest outside of any of these places just because things have gone like stupidly crazy. Quote, targeting a Jewish community this way has been anti-Semitic, and that's why I'm proposing a ban on these protests, and I'll respect people's right to protest any day of the week, but not within 25 feet of property line on a house of worship. But while it appears to be broad support for the buffer zone in New York, path for implementation could be rocky. This is, by the way, from the JTA. Shout out GTA. The State Assembly and Senate are set to embark on the potentially months-long negotiation process in which lawmakers will weigh the benefits of constricting protests against the costs, including potential impact on free speech. Quote, it might become really contentious when the whole range of secular and faith organizations weigh in. This is from Felicia Wisdom, who is director of the New York Jewish Agenda, which is a liberal group. Quote, I think we're about to enter that conversation. Yeah, but I'm like, have that conversation. Go for it. I think that there needs we figure it out. Like, I think that this is not a reason not to do this. And by the way, there's a Canadian tie in here. But if the conversation is like, oh, this is gonna be complicated, good, let's go.
Yeah,
let's figure this out right now. All right, lawmakers are pushing for a similar bill in Canada, where synagogues have been the site of pro-Palestinian demonstrations. But unlike New York, where the elected officials across the political spectrum have been largely receptive to the idea, the Canadian bill has faced resistance from both pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel Jewish conservatives. One of the country's main prominent Jewish lawmakers, conservative Melissa Lansman, recently wrote that the Canadian bill criminalizes free speech and creates, quote, an opening for law to be used against the very communities it's supposed to protect. Bill C-9, also known as the Combating Hate Act, does not create formal buffer zones, but would add new offenses to federal criminal code, making it a crime to, quote, intimidate and obstruct people from accessing places of worship, as well as schools, community centers, and other places primarily used by identifiable groups. It would also become a criminal offense to, quote, willfully promote hatred against an identifiable group by displaying certain terrorism or hate symbols in public. Back to the American. What do you feel as a Canadian?
Okay, Canada's a little bit complicated right now because at face value, all this stuff is generally pretty good. But, and I love my dear darling socialist Canada, but it's been on a weird, far left backslide for a long time, especially when Trudeau was in office, most recently. So, the protecting people against hate speech stuff is good on face value, as I said, but they're kind of getting into the territory of, all the stuff that's happening in the UK with the anti-hate speech stuff, which sort of starting to cross a little bit of a line where comedians are getting arrested for tweets that they've made, and obviously that stuff counts for something, but it's when you open that legislation up to such a degree that it's open to interpretation, that you start to run into some murky waters of being well, just because some elected official thinks that this is generally bad and maybe it looks good on their campaign to go after you for it. It just opens things up a bit too much. I think the stuff that's going on in New York is fantastic. I think definitely buffer zone outside of all houses of worship.
Things have gotten kind of crazy in Toronto, is what I would say. This is another thing, is that Toronto has kind of exploded a little bit, especially with the anti-Jewish stuff. As someone, I've been there a couple times, and it's a real concern.
Yeah.
Hey?
And Toronto's kind of the liberal center of Canada too.
Yeah.
So
imagine if you're in Saskatoon. Do they free Palestine in Saskatoon?
I think it's too cold to do anything for Palestine. You go outside. No.
Back to the American JFREG, which is it's Jewish. JFREG is one of the extreme liberal Jewish.
Is this in Quebec?
No, this is American. Jay Fredge does not support the legislation designed to curtail protest. So the mega liberal side of this, they do want to keep this away. Quote, it's understandable that the image of people protesting outside a synagogue can spark discomfort and even real fear, and people should be able to pray and observe religious holidays without fear of harassment. But houses of worship make a choice when they host non-religious political events, and that choice includes the knowledge that they might be protested for doing this. Bullshit. Like, I actually call extreme bullshit on this. That is not a reason to let the harassment happen outside of these synagogues. They're able to do these things inside, first of all, First Amendment rights, inside of the synagogues. And also, let's remember that this is only a problem because the protests have gotten violent. You can't go like, oh, they shouldn't be able to host that Israel stuff. And also, what's the bar? Most synagogues in New York have a positive association to Israel and materials inside of that synagogue that are pro-Israel. Inside of the prayer books, there's references to parts of the West Bank that are Jewish owned. I have cousins, my sisters live out in the West Bank. Does that mean, and I don't think that they should be murdered. Does that mean that I should be opened up for to talk? What if I talk about, should this house be open to protest because I talk about this stuff? Like, if I'm in a synagogue and the West Bank has 650,000 Jews, it comes up in conversation, and it comes up in a way where people don't want, pain to come to the Jews in the West Bank. That would technically open them up to getting protested just because we have like relatives out there. It's way too low. The Nefesh B'Nefesh, which is the Israeli Immigration Service, or it's an American group that helps with Israeli immigration. They have materials inside the synagogues. Just having materials would open every synagogue up to being protested. Once again, it's only an issue because of violence. Jay Fredge's email. How does it work? Okay, Jay Fredge's email also pointed out that such groups as NYC for Abortion Rights, which it should. Jay Fredge's email also pointed out groups such as NYC for Abortion Rights, which it said should be able to continue the practice of protesting outside of a church, serves as a gathering place for anti-choice bigots, and then march to harass people at nearby clinic. You know what? Like, this is exactly why the conversations have to happen. Figure out how to protect all the people. But if these houses of worship are becoming problems to protest, then I'm sorry. But if Jay Fredge doesn't want abortion rights groups to come out there and protest the churches, then they have to push for calmness to take over in the pro-Palestinian sections. Jay Fredge has stood up and is involved with some of these groups that are the reason why these protests have to start to be curtailed. If they want better freedom for this stuff, then they have an obligation to go out there and to curtail their allies on the other side. In an email to JTA, a legal expert warned that the legislation should be designed cautiously. Quote, legislation restricting public demonstrations outside of New York's houses of worship must be narrowly tailored, viewpoint neutral, and tangibly justifiable. If not, it's very likely to infringe on people's First Amendment rights, said Justin Harrison, who is a senior policy counsel at the New York Civil Liberties Union. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree that whatever they do next should 100% be thought out. Good. Yeah. I will say also that you can really tell a lot from the groups that are against this in a way that feels like they're just like, yeah, let them, let the Jews suffer inside. Jewish Voices for Peace. As Jews, we strongly object to the use of synagogues to enable expulsion of Palestinians from their homes. Like, okay, it's an exaggeration. Then they go into Palestinian land, violation of international law, which is, debatable is what I would say, because they're talking about real estate deals, which not all of them are about new compounds that are coming in and things like that. I don't know, JVP's statement is a little bit broad on this, but they're the ones that are very, very against not being able to protest outside of a synagogue. And I get it. If I'm JVP, I want to be able to protest outside a synagogue, but that's why I shouldn't be able to protest outside synagogues.
Yeah, no protesting outside synagogues and no protesting outside Planned Parenthood. Just leave us alone, okay?
Yeah, if you want to be violent, then do it somewhere else.
Do it somewhere else.
Man.
Get out of here.
Anyways, those are the political stories I have. I now have a couple of just Jewish sports stories I want to go through real quickly. You ready?
Hit me.
Trevor, choose the week in sports. Actually, no, wait, we did the wrong one.
What?
It's the Olympic one. Die, 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 die. Die, da, 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 da. It's time for Jews of the Week in sports. Alec Bregman has officially been signed to the Chicago Cubs for $175 million. Alec Bregman, who was on the Houston Houston Astros 2 years ago, was on the Boston Red Sox last year, has now signed a 3-year, $130 million. He was 3-year, $120 million with Boston. That included an opt-out clause. He signed a 5-year, $175 million pact with the Cubs. It's the second largest contract ever signed by a Jewish baseball player. The biggest contract ever signed by a Jewish baseball player, $218 million in 2024 for Max Fried to go to the Yankees. Previously, Bregman was on a 5-year deal with a $100 million extension for the Houston Astros. Bregman, who played his first 9 years in Houston, has been named one of baseball's best third basemen. He was a 3-time All-Star, a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, and has 2 World Series rings that he won on Houston. He also, and this is true, big fan of the Jews. He occasionally wears a Jewish star on his belt and all that stuff, which is very, very nice. Alec Bregman, play for Team Israel. Come on. Play for Team Israel. You don't need to play for Team America this time. They don't need you. You know what needs you? Your brethren, your mishpacha. Alec Bregman played for the mishpacha. We got the World Baseball Classic coming up this year. It would be a shanda, a busha for you to go out there to sign with the Goyim on Team America, okay? Harrison Bader is on Team Israel. Gareth Stubbs is on Team Israel. Dean Kremer is on Team Israel. You're not joining a bunch of schlubs. You're joining a star-studded cast of baseball talent out there. The fight, the appeal, the project, the campaign to get Alec Bregman on Team Israel Baseball starts today. Now that you've got $175 million from the Chicago Cubs, you think he's going to move to Skokie? That's where all the Jews live, in Chicago.
Yeah.
He's going to go out to Skokie. Second bit of news. We are in NBA All-Star season. Deni Avidja has apparently cracked into the top voting. LeBron James has endorsed Deni Avidja as an All-Star. Today they announced the starters. Hopefully Deni Avidja gets called up to go into the All-Star game. I think he's having an absolutely tremendous game for the Trailblazers, a season for the Trailblazers this year. Big shout out, Shkoyach, Kiddush, Mazels, Shkoyach meaning out there to Deni Avidja on the season he's having. He should be a part of the All-Star game. Fingers crossed. He's a little bit injured this year though, so hopefully Refu Shalem out there to Deni Avidja and his legs. Last little bit of Jewish positive story out here. Alon Leichman, who is from Israel, is the first ever Israeli head pitching coach in the MLB. Leichman was raised in Kibbutz Gezer. He is going to be coaching for the Colorado Rockies. He just wrapped up a season as the assistant pitching coach for the Miami Marlins, and he received the news on Saturday. Before joining the Marlins, Leichman served as the assistant pitching coach for the Cincinnati Reds for 2 years. Earlier in his career, he played and coached for Team Israel, including a stint as the bullpen coach in the 2017 World Baseball Classic. He is going to be the head pitching coach for Team Israel in 2026. So maybe he rubs shoulders with Alec Bregman. And that is all of the positive Jewish stories that I have. I have one last little story just to address, and that is Houston Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shair got fined $11,953 by the NFL for wearing Stop the Genocide eye black over his eyes. Now, I will say, so this is why he got fined. The NFL has fairly secure and fairly tight, no political messages, no personal messages on your cleats, on your face, on any of the equipment itself. You cannot do any of that stuff. In fact, in the past, D'Angelo Williams got fined because he had breast cancer awareness signage on his face, and his mother died of breast cancer, and he got fined. The NFL fined him for that. Last year, Nick Bosa got fined for wearing a MAGA hat. So this is a very clear set of rules that has been set out there when it comes to political statements and when it comes to personal messaging on your body. That being said, there have been times where the NFL has let people do that. most notably, this past year, Greg Joseph was able to wear Israeli flag cleats during a game. And the reason why was because that was part of a bigger My Cause, My Cleats campaign initiative that was done by the NFL with the NFL, like the team owners and everyone in cahoots. A lot of people wore different cleats during that time. Another example is that if you watched the game yesterday, you saw that Mike Vrabel had a blue square to fight anti-Semitism patch. That is an official partner of the NFL. So a lot of the blowback on this was that he was getting sued or getting fined for anti-Palestinian reasons. No. He's getting fined because the NFL does not want you to know the political beliefs of all of their athletes. Harrison Butker is a kicker for Kansas City. Also famously, during a school address, told women that they should be homemakers. Do you want him to have us put a women back in the kitchen face mask out there? Aaron Rodgers, famous anti-vaxxer. Houston Texans linebacker got sued for a game versus the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback for the Steelers. You want Aaron Rodgers to show up with the 9/11 didn't happen. Face sticker. No, you don't. That's why the NFL has all these systems in place out there. So all that being said, I do think that the NFL should let pro-Palestinian flags and signage and messaging into their next, My Cause, My Cleats campaign. You do it right, is what I would say. No need. The Palestinian issue is not, it's not more special or it's not a bigger issue than other issues out there. If you can't wear breast cancer awareness eye patches, even though your mom died, then unfortunately you cannot wear Stop the Genocide, eye black that's out there. What would you wear?
I would wear a pair of sweaters.
Ooh, very nice.
Now, what would I wear for eye black?
Messaging.
Oh, God, I don't know. I think I would say go team, I think I would stick with the old focus on the task at hand,
You wouldn't have a political or anything message?
Nah, I'd just say go team. I'd say maybe hope everyone has fun. I don't think there's anything that I need to.
What about
I'm like I said, I'm focusing on the moment. I'm trying to play to win this game, and then we'll talk about free Palestine or whatever. What would you wear?
I would say work from home optional.
Ooh, love that. That's a good one,
That's what I would have
actually.
under that.
It's tough though if you're a football player. I guess that's
actually true. You can't zoom in.
It's a hard one.
I hear that. Maybe for the nurses.
For the nurses,
I would say give nurses all the money. How about that?
It's wordy though.
What about for the children? Actually, no. The people like he's being weird. He's being weird.
Yeah.
What the hell would he? It's weird.
Children.
It was no, it's something Jewish. I'd say oi,
Oi!
oi, vey. Anyways, this has been the Jew York Times. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are live every week. We're gonna do a bonus episode tomorrow. It's gonna drop. People ask me my questions about Israel. We got a couple big interviews coming up. Also, stick around. We got a couple of big ones dropping over the next couple of weeks. I spoke to someone involved in getting rehabbing kids back from hate groups. We spoke to someone who's
Unbrainwashing?
Literally de-brainwashing. We spoke to someone for specifically white nationalists. We also spoke to the creators of Slam Frank. That's an interview that's going to be dropping over the next couple of weeks. Ahmed Al-Fatub, I think oh my God, I'm sorry for not pronouncing that right. Fucking cancel me.
We'll kill yourself. Sorry.
I'm not good at pronouncing anyone's name. Is what I would say.
And I got a hard name, so.
Big Palestinian advocate. We're dropping that interview soon. All those interviews are coming up soon. So stick around. Aside from that, 92nd Street Y, we're going to be doing a show out there in a couple months. Date coming out. So stay tuned for that. Aside from that, I will see you guys later. You know how we end these?
Yes.
Barstool! Yeah.